Kamala Harris was caught on a hot mic bizarre moment. I don't even know if you call it a hot mic moment. She was in a live stream, and I guess she didn't realize that she was in a live stream. The Daily Mail reports Kamala Harris accused of being fed questions in bizarre Hurricane Milton briefing moment. They say Trump's campaign and critics on X are accusing the vice president of being fed what to say during the briefing on Wednesday. While the National Weather Service Director Ken Graham was providing information on the storm, Harris could be seen covering her mouth awkwardly and heard saying, "It's a live broadcast." I think that was her aide who said that, or was that her? Shortly after that, she posed a question to Graham to provide more information to Americans about the severity of the storm, despite it being downgraded from a Category 5 to a 4 hurricane. Quote, Kamala can be heard telling an aide who is feeding her questions that it's a live broadcast before immediately asking the question. She's a total fraud, Trump War Room wrote on its X page with a clip of the moment. The user posted their own takeaway from the moment, writing on X of the vice president, "This lady doesn't know what's going on. Everything about her is scripted and fake." Okay, well, I know what the media is going to say because the Daily Dot has already written the article. Kamala Harris's live broadcast hot mic moment during Milton briefing sparks new earpiece conspiracy. Oh, God. Okay, but let's pause for a quick second. You know what? I love this. And I know a lot of people are going to say like, whoa, Tim, you don't know that she was caught on a hot mic being fed questions. Well, how could you make such an assertion? Because the rebuttal is already that, of course she was, it did happen, and you're a conspiracy theorist. The Daily Dot's rebuttal to this, because they often just write stuff like this, is that she wasn't talking to an earpiece. It's like, okay, so she was on a hot mic being fed questions, but the conspiracy is the earpiece. I talk about this all the time, my friends. They'll fact check something with something added to the story that isn't a part of it.
Exactly.
Did Kamala Harris have a hot mic moment on a live stream where it appeared she was fed questions? I say appeared because I'm being nice. The answer is yes. What they then do is, was she caught on a hot mic moment where it appeared she was being fed questions through an earpiece? False. They'll write the whole article up and then say, there's no evidence yet, an earpiece.
Well, and the worst part of it is they're expecting you to deny what you can actually see in the video. Covering your mouth and then saying something when you think you aren't being watched isn't normal behavior, right? So if she didn't have a earpiece or whatever it is they're alleging people are actually saying when they're not saying it, it doesn't negate the fact that that's a bizarre thing to do. Like, does she have multiple personality disorders? She's speaking to her own hand. If she's not being fed questions or she's not talking to somebody,
I feel like the easier defense would have been like, she had something in her teeth. She wanted to politely, like, discreetly clear them. She was coughing, but instead they went for the, like, you guys are crazy and you're turning this into something wild.
Gentlemen, she could have just said that the report could have been like, of course she was being fed questions, but that's a bit of, you don't have to say it like that.
Right.
She's in a briefing. Her aide is providing her information and she's going to follow up with questions. The crazy thing about this is the attempt at rebutting it as though there's some weird conspiracy that happened. Guys, people, ladies, gentlemen, everybody listening at home. If you come to me and say, did you know that there was an aide working with Donald Trump who gave him questions before he went and did an interview or whatever? I'd be like, uh-huh. Yes, I've met them. Everybody has them. Why? It's crazy to me that the media's response to this is, no, it's a conspiracy. She didn't have an earpiece, instead of being like, uh-huh.
Well, there's good reason for that, though. And it's because they know that the public perception is Kamala is not a person who's able to think and speak on her feet. And so the idea that she's receiving information from an earpiece just validates that.
Yep. Here I am somewhat defending Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
right?
how dare you?
I mean, like, she's got aides. She's in a briefing. She's not paying attention. She's campaigning. She's the vice president anyway. Why is she in these briefings? The president should be in these briefings. She's just trying to campaign.
Right. I mean, the bar for her is incredibly low. I agree. I mean, we don't expect her to be able to think on her own. We expect her to be heavily supported by her staff. But I think that's one of the fears going into a potential Harris-Walz presidency. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but she did that interview where she was asked, what, if anything, would you change about the Biden administration, about anything they've done? And she said, nothing comes to mind.
Absolutely insane.
The man did it.
Insane.
This morning, when I was going over her Colbert interview and her View statement, where she's asked on The View, what would you change? She's like, nothing comes to mind. I was like, please, Donald Trump, just put, I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message and run it as an advertisement.
Right.
And the Trump War Room posted it. Literally her saying, there's nothing that comes to mind that I would change. And I was involved in all of the major decisions. I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message.
It's brilliant. It's interesting to me, though, because they've tried to play both sides of it. There have been plenty of moments where they've tried to act like she had absolutely no connection to the Biden administration. And there was even a fact check that came out. There was an article that was published by some left-wing rag where they were saying the new Republican strategy is going to be to associate Kamala Harris with Joe Biden as if she wasn't
the president,
his
who
vice
she said
president.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it is also interesting though because there has been, it seems like growing tension between Harris and Biden. Biden doesn't seem particularly supportive of her anymore. In fact, at times he seems a little barbed and catty. But now he's starting to say, well, Trump is spreading all this misinformation about the hurricane. He is starting to sort of give a line that would be more helpful to Harris's campaign while she flounders in this live media blitz or whatever she's doing.
And then she's running as an underdog.
Yeah, I
she's
know.
killing me with that shit. We're the underdog.
She's acting
We're
like
the underdog. You are not the underdog.
you're the VP.
You're the VP.
Dude, she's running like she has a grassroots candidacy. Like she's running like she just popped out of nowhere.
The woman
And
who
people
didn't get
are
any votes in
energized
the
behind her.
primary.
Exactly. She didn't get a single vote in the primary. She was one of the least popular candidates. And what's so hilarious to me is even when she does people's podcasts, the way that it's discussed is in basically apologetic terms. You guys all know that she, as the normal adult in the room, decided to go on the Call Her Daddy podcast, which is just a brilliant move from a statesperson in our country. But at the beginning of that podcast, because I was curious to see how that went, I listened to the beginning. And the host was basically justifying the decision to her audience. She was saying things like, I just want you guys to hear both sides. And, we've invited Trump on too. And I really just want you to have a more well-rounded perspective. Now, back in 2008, if any popular podcast had Obama on, they weren't starting by apologizing to their audience and explaining the decision because he was actually popular among groups of young people who do listen to these kinds of pop cultural podcasts, degenerate as they are, right? And so you would think that even with that kind of a fan base, you'd be able to say, yeah, Kamala Harris is here. Isn't that awesome? And the audience would celebrate. But the podcast host knew that they wouldn't because she isn't this grassroots candidate who people were clamoring for. She was incredibly unpopular as vice president, but then we're told overnight that she is one of the most popular people in politics and that she's going to beat Donald Trump in this election hands down without any kind of a challenge. And you just look at her campaign now and you go, they're flailing. They're not making decisions that people make unless they're desperate. Who goes on a podcast like that unless they're desperate?
Right, and she's criticizing Ron DeSantis, right, for not taking her call, while he says, I talked to the president. I don't know why I would have to talk to her. She's making this about politics.
That's a good point.
She is really going into this defensive, this very defensive position, saying, these conservative Republicans are being nice to me. They're spreading misinformation. I'm here for the right reasons, when ultimately we know this is actually all an attempt to stay relevant, to maintain this idea that she's the vibes candidate, when the vibes in the country have really changed, right? It's great. She went on Call Her Daddy. She talked to the feminists. Good for her. What is she going to do about the people who are affected by the hurricane? And so far we've heard she's good with sending money to Lebanon, and also she wants to stand by everything that the Biden administration did. This seems bad.
Absolutely disgusting. But this shows that Kamala is not ready to be president.
Yep.
She is not ready to run the country. Ron DeSantis said he missed the call. He didn't get the call. He missed it. She had a freaking meltdown. Oh my God, he didn't answer my call. Why are they being mean to me? They're not picking you want to be the president of the United States and you are crying because he missed your call?
He's kind of busy right now.
Yeah, exactly. He's actually governing.
He's actually trying to help his people. He's trying to help the American people, something that you should have been doing with Hurricane Elaad. But that's why she's having a meltdown, is because she's trying to make up for not showing up quick enough for the Hurricane Elaad victims. And I was just out there in Asheville, North Carolina. And it was devastating. It was complete devastation. It was terrible. And Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they were late to helping these people. They were late. And when I was down there, do you know who was helping out the most? The churches, the nonprofits, volunteers from all over America driving down, putting their lives on the line to help the people of North Carolina. FEMA didn't do anything but get in the way. Yep. I was down there on the ground. FEMA was in the way. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden showed up late, and that's why she's blowing up Ron DeSantis' phone so that she can say, "Oh, I was on time, guys." But now she's gonna blame. She's not gonna do anything.
No, she's not. She's prepping us. Well, that's what I'm saying is the reason she's freaking out about Ron DeSantis not taking his call and is making such a big stink about that is because she's not going to do anything for the people of Florida after this hurricane, and she's preparing to blame Ron DeSantis for it.
Mm-hmm. I'm sick of the misinformation narrative she pushed. She went on Colbert and she's like, please don't pay attention to the misinformation. And I'm like, a guy on video posting it online or having someone film him where he's like, please help me, I'm suffering, is not misinformation.
Right.
A resident going on Fox News and saying, where are you? We're not getting support is not misinformation. They're doing this procedural game where they're saying, because FEMA has helped some people, all people have been helped.
That's right.
So any amount of people that are not getting help, when we say, hey, people are not getting help, they go, that's not true. FEMA is helping some people.
Right. The federal government is totally running cover for Kamala Harris right now. I watched this NBC interview. They had a FEMA director on, right? This high-ranking FEMA person, and they show a clip of a resident in North Carolina saying, we haven't seen anything from the federal government. If FEMA's here, they're nowhere near us. I haven't seen any volunteers. I haven't seen any aid from the federal government. We keep being told that they're here, but like we are not receiving
Where are
help.
they?
And they cut back to the person. They're like, what would you say to this resident who's been affected by the hurricane? And the director's like, well, just because we're not wearing FEMA t-shirts doesn't mean that we're not there.
Oh,
like,
BS.
That means that they're not receiving water or food or supplies or like medical, like whatever they need. It's not about we don't see your brand. It's that they aren't receiving support. It's not enough to say, well, just because we're not wearing t-shirts doesn't mean we're there.
Imagine going without water and food for a week and then hearing Kamala Harris and FEMA say, oh, we gave that person water. And there's right now they still don't have water. A lot of people still going out. A lot of people right now still do not have water, electricity, and food. A lot of people are still missing. And then for them to get on TV and say that, oh, this is all misinformation, we have helped everybody. That is a damn lie. I was down there on the ground. We were walking into neighborhoods. It was me and a lot of other volunteers. We were walking into neighborhoods because there were a lot of elderly people who were not able to go search for free food and hot meals.
Right.
And we were knocking on doors. A man literally had tears coming down his eyes because he had been without water for a week. For about 5 days. And he didn't think that anybody would bring him water. So for FEMA to say, oh, we gave everybody water and food. We helped everybody.
We're here.
BS.
You're just not paying enough attention.
It's BS.
Well, and imagine you're in this situation where your town has been absolutely devastated by this storm. You are searching for family members that you pray are alive without supplies. You don't have water. You don't have food. You don't have electricity. And Kamala Harris is on Stephen Colbert's show pretending to enjoy beer. It's insane. She's not competent.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.